Hi guys, it's Jeanette Vilda. Okay, so this is kind of like take 2. Sad thing is I already know this is going to work. I wanted to, I tried out something and didn't know if it was going to work, and it worked. But the video was all screwed up. So everything I did is gone. So that's lovely. So it took me a while to realize that and to figure out what was going on. So I'm finally ready to redo this. Unfortunately now, of course, now I know it works. But that means I can do this a little better, hopefully, this time. So what am I doing? This is another video showing you some of the products from Craspire. Mainly, I've got a little scoop, I got a little furnace. This is my all-time favorite handle. I got this from Craspire. You can see it's like amber. Isn't that gorgeous? And then also I have a flat stamp here. These are quite nice if, for instance, you weren't going to do what I'm going to do, which is, if you see I have a little flower, you might not be able to see that very well because it's white. But I have a little flower, and here's some purple ones. And it's pressed flour, so it's a real flower. And I'm going to press that into my wax. So these blanks, they come in all kinds of sizes and shapes. The blanks are great for that, because if you stamp it with any of the stamps, that have your typical embossed image on it, it's a little harder to see the object that you're stamping into the wax because of that image. While I'm talking, I'm going to get this thing started up, heating up. So what I'm going to do is, and you can see also I've got this little piece here. Now, this is a kind of a scrap, but I really like it. This came in a set of stuff. Our neighbor gave me just boxes and boxes of craft supplies that were left to her by an aunt. And in it was a bunch of things that she had made and put together. And one of them was this little chipboard frame. The back, it had a image that was stuck on the back. And you can see that she's painted it. It's a little wonky and it has some issues, but that's okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use some Post-it tape out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the window that is in this little chipboard frame with wax. And the wax is going to adhere to the frame. I'm using Post-it tape because I want to hold it down. I want it to be snug to my silicone mat, but of course I don't want to hurt the chipboard and don't want it to adhere too much. I'm really just holding it down. You can almost say it's barely even working because it doesn't want to adhere to the oh, it's not working at all. Okay, worked okay last time. I think it's this Post-it tape. This Post-it tape is not as good as my yellow one. Let's try that one real quick, see if it works. But basically what I'm going to do is let's see if this works at all. And it also could be that this silicone is really dirty. That's actually a little bit better. Like I said, it just has to hold it in place and hold it down just a little bit. Not a lot. It doesn't need to be perfect. And yeah, it's not going to stick to that at all, is it? Okay, so we won't do that. That's fine. I can hold it down. The only reason I have to do that is because, as you can see, I tore off that paper, so it's not sitting down terribly flat. But I'll just use my hands to hold it down, which will be a little more dangerous. So I have this. This is just leftover wax. It's not terribly great. I highly recommend the wax that you can get from Craspire. I liked once upon a time to say that all wax is created equal. All wax is not created equal. Let me just say that. I got some, I thought, ooh, save money, buy cheap stuff. Yeah, don't do that. There's a reason it is cheap. There's a little bit of clear wax still in the pot. I don't really care. The clear won't add any color, obviously, and it might add a little bit of interest in there. I'm going to hit pause and find my toothpicks. All right, found my toothpicks. And that's just going to help me. Oop, found them just in time because I put them in a little too fast. You want to let them go down because you can see it went over just a bit. But that's okay. It's pretty easy to clean up. Let that continue to melt. And so anyways, I'm going to fill in this frame and make a cute little wax feel inside of the frame. Now the key here, and it's quite difficult, which is why, again, while I do like this and I think it'll turn out really pretty when I'm done, I won't be too upset if it doesn't quite work, because this is a kind of a leftover piece that I don't really like. I think once I do this, I will really like it, so that's why we're using it. And what I'm going to do is, the trick is that I found, you need to pour in enough to fully fill the frame and be just a little bit high. When the wax cools, it will pull a little bit away from the frame, from the chipboard that you have. That's important. When I did this before, it worked very nicely, filled up the frame, but yes, as it cooled, it did pull away from the frame itself. And I'll show you that later, because I'll show you how this turns out, or we'll see how this turns out and then do that one. Now that one I stamped into. This time I'm going to put this flower in the middle and then use my blank stamp to stamp down. Now the important piece here obviously is that I'm going to fill this up, and when I stamp, it's going to push it out. So I'm going to be real careful. Usually when I use my stamps, I let gravity work its way down. I just let it fall into the wax and let gravity pull it down to stamp into the wax. This time I'm going to hold it just ever so. I'm just letting it tamp down a little bit until I know that I've, either put too much wax, not enough wax, then I can tamp down a little bit farther. But I need to be careful because I don't want it to go pouring over the sides of the frame. So that's important. So we're getting our wax all nice and melty. Like I said, there's some clear wax that was still in the cup. So I'm just going to try and mix that in with what's here so that I don't get some weirdness. It shouldn't make a big difference to the overall color. But yes, as I was saying, I got these real cheap wax doodads. Oh, boysy. Junk. Just junk. One, they did not want to melt. And then once they melt, oh my gosh, if you didn't have it the very second, just like here I am, stirring, the moment I would pull my toothpick out just a little bit, it would just immediately harden. Unreal. So yes, I will amend my previous statements that all wax chips are created equal. They are not. They are not. Now, one thing I will say is that, so this is good and melty, so get that ready to go. One thing I will say is that I have seen a major difference in the different, like for instance, that was the long sticks, and then I just cut it up because, I keep my wax in these little holders. And the little sticks, as you can see, it took a little bit for it to melt. Not too bad. But I'll tell you, these little stars that you can get, those melt almost instantaneously. I don't know what it is, but the little stars melt very quickly. And then these little chips, these little hexagon pods, more like pods really, because the chips are even, I do love the chips, and you can definitely, Craspire has the chips, and I really like those. These melt, I say, in the middle between those. And then this is one of the actual sticks that had a, you know, they have the wax. The little thingy in the candle has one of those in it, and you're supposed to, you know, light that, and then it drips. Hate those. I don't know if I've only ever gotten really bad ones, but yeah, you can only get, it literally is drip, drip, drip. And so by the time you get enough of it down, most of it is hardened, so you really can't stamp with it. I don't, but I like these. So, but what I do is I immediately pull the wax out, and I just chop it up. They work very nicely. They melt slowly, but they stay liquidy longer. But I do like these. But yeah, I don't do it with the you know, lighting the wax and then, or the stringy thing. All right, so I need to go quickly when I do this. So I'm going to be pouring, and then I'm going to grab my flour here. It's upside down, so I'm going to get it ready. Oh, let's see. I'm going to grab it, have it ready to go. So he's in the tweezer, ready to go. Oh, maybe I'll lay it here and have it in the tweezer. There we go. Then all I have to do is pick it up and go. Just to make sure, you know, that this doesn't dry on me. Now I'm going to be extremely careful here. I'm going to, how do I want to do this? Do not, maybe it'd be better. No. All right. I'm going to be very, very careful. So I'm holding this down flat to pour so I can fill it up. And I'm going to kind of give it a nudge and some, oh, there, it went beautifully. Okay, now, oops, put my flour right on top. I don't know if that's going to show up well because of the purple. It might diminish. I'm letting it dry a little bit as it goes, and I'm just going to give it the teeny tiniest of a stamp. And I'm going to hold it. Oh, nope. There we go. That's perfect. It came out on me. So I'm going to hold this while this slowly dries. And actually, I might give it a little bit more of a stamp. There we go. Okay. Now, let it dry. And like I said, it's going to pull up from the chipboard just a bit. But it will stick nicely. So I'm going to let that sit there for quite some time because I put a lot of wax in there. Blow out my candle. So now while that cools, I'll show you what I made the first time. And this is it. Now you can see how it most definitely, here it pulled away from the chipboard. So I think, you know, if I could take this out of here, remelt that, and do this again. Maybe push a little bit harder on my stamp so that it would spread out a little bit better. But I still really like that. If, depending on how I use this, like if I was using it on the front of a book, for instance, I wouldn't mind that gap. I would simply, you know, make sure that whatever is behind it, you wouldn't notice it as much. But just know that it does separate a bit. But you can see it's in there nicely. It's holding on. I had planned to, on the back, add glue around the edges. And really you want a very clear glue, like say a glossy accents. That's a good glue to use. Something that definitely dries clear. Now the reason I say that is because I used clear wax here. You can see it's got a little bit of I mean, clear is a relative term, but this is a clear wax, and it's got a nice smoky look to it. And the stamp that I used is this gorgeous one from Craspire. It's a little, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Probably not. Oh, yeah, because it's hard to the other thing I wanted to do is paint it, but I haven't done it yet because I haven't decided if I want to redo it or not. But it's a gorgeous little cat on a twig, and this is also from Craspire. So, and the chipboard is just another, you know, random piece of chipboard from my collection. It's a dragon, and the one thing I did notice as soon as I finished is that I stamped him upside down. So my dragons should actually be, let's see, which way are you looking? They should be this way, but you can see then the cat is upside down. So if I put the cat right side up, they're upside down. But I think even if you put it this way, you can't tell, really. And because those dragons are kind of hard to see. So they could be either direction. So that's one thing to think of, too, is that if you are using an actual stamp with an image on it, know which direction it's going, and maybe use a marker or something to note exactly where the middle of the top is, so that you're not going to be able to see it until you're done, and then it's hard to gauge which direction it's going. All right, let's see here. This one is looking good. So a little bit more, but move this out of the way. You can see it is already, that is going to be gorgeous. I'm liking that a lot with the purple. I think I'll use a little spatula just to make sure that I get that off nicely. It comes off the silicone pretty easily, but I don't want to break my chipboard by giving it a bit of a bend. So I'm just nudging it off, and it might still be a little bit warm. There we go. Oh wow, that worked even better than the first one. So there we have, oh, which way do I go here? See if I can get it to not gleam so you can really see it. Look at that, isn't that cool? So now I can use any kind of chipboard piece that has, you know, an opening. I could, you know, if I were being really exacting, I could even fill in the different pieces of a chipboard piece. Think about maybe, so this I would use personally on the front of a book, or maybe even a card or something. But imagine a piece like this, you fill in some of the empty spots and hang it. It would make a really neat little Christmas ornament, or just a pretty light catcher in the window, but made of wax. Of course, if you made it as a Christmas ornament, careful when you hang it on your tree that you don't put it right in front of a Christmas light. You wouldn't want your your wax to heat up and then fall out of your chipboard. And again, like I said, this is pretty stable in there. It's starting to wobble around the part that is open, but this part that's attached is really attached. I mean, that's not coming off. And so just to give a little bit of action, now this one's really not going to come off because it really nicely went over the edges. But what I might do is in the back, again, layer some glue around it, or even as you see here, there was once a piece of paper over it. So you might use my little piece of Post-it here, might use a piece of paper over the back if you don't mind it being seen somewhat through the other side, if there are holes, other holes that could be seen. So that's one way, but like I said, just a little bit of glue right around the edges to ensure that that doesn't pop out, which it's not going to do, but just to be doubly sure. So I hope you enjoyed. This is a quick little project, easy peasy, but it's gorgeous. Isn't that neat? And I love the clear. So there's clear, and there's also this one's rather opaque, so you're not gonna, I wouldn't use that to hang up and then have some lights behind it. But there are a number of wax chips that are translucent. I wouldn't say clear, but I would say go more translucent. And they have a gorgeous, Craspire has a really pretty, not clear, but has a yellow tint to it. I think that would be beautiful. It'd make a really, really pretty, like if you had a little chipboard church, for instance, and filled that in with that yellowed, clear wax. I think that would be just make a beautiful little light catcher. So anyways, that is our project. I hope you enjoyed. If you got questions, leave them down below. Definitely go check out Craspire. Wonderful company, wonderful products. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.